There we go.
There it goes. All right. So DM Dave here. Got the group together. We're going to be doing session 2 of my modified starter set, Dark Discoveries. And we're going to start off. Ty is playing Ghemash, and he will give us the intro as for everything that happened last session.
All right. So, our group met in a tavern. I don't remember what the name of the tavern was called. It was ritzy, though. It was very high-end.
Driftwood.
And the Driftwood Tavern, that's what it was. And so we met at the Driftwood Tavern, and we were waiting for Gundren to show up. Kind of just becoming acquainted with one another and spending a bit of time there. When Gundren finally showed up, he gave us a map and told us to make our way along the Tribor Trail to Phandelver in the north. So his brother, Ferdin, what was his name again? Thadrin? Tharden. So Tharden showed up, and he was our guide. He gave us a wagon. We followed him. And a while along the trail, the second day, we came across Thadrin, who was not a pirate, but he was dead. Well, not dead. He was barely alive along the trail. Hit with several crossbow bolts and arrows. So we went down to inspect a scene of carnage that lay at the bottom of this hill in this little ravine, and we were assailed by 4 goblin bandits who attacked us, and we made short work of them.
All right. And what was the significant thing in the battle for our party?
The horses died.
Oh, yeah, Josh.
Significant to Roland.
Roland would probably do that.
Yeah, I think I have a beautiful black barbed arrow sticking out of my sternum.
Yeah, that was the big one. But we'll see how that handles once we get rolling. So Ty,
Roland.
for the summary, I'm going to ignore that and let you roll. You can get another initiative card.
Okay, that time I got a 14.
A 14. So we'll get you your initiative card, which is a special item you can play. And very nice. So I will screen share so you can see this. And you get Second Wind, which is use. It's a combat card where you and your allies gain the immediate benefits of having taken a short rest.
Nice.
So this can be played in the middle of combat or afterwards, whenever you want.
Yo, as a warlock, I get all my spells back at a short rest. Heck yeah!
That's awesome.
All right, so now you have 3 cards, and everyone else should have 2. So we got some potential interesting stuff coming. And remember, with the inspiration cards too, if there's ever any great role playing or anything that would get inspiration, then you can choose to take the advantage on a roll, or you can choose to roll for another card. Now we will get started. I'm going to start with one of my cold opens again. So somewhat of a movie scene taking place in a different part of the area, and that will lead us into our actual adventuring. So got a 2-parter for this one. First one picks up, and it's in Neverwinter, and the view goes into this inn, the inside of a building. It's very familiar. There are very ornate, decorated stained glass windows, and old Neverwinter ruined doors have been turned into tables. It's a very, very posh establishment. And you notice just walking into the inn is a figure who is wearing very dark clothes with a cloak wrapped around him. Generally, he looks capable, looks somewhat shady, just at the first appearance of him. He's got a very, very positive yet deadly, or a very strong yet deadly demeanor. Walks in and talks to the barmaid just for a little while. You see an exchange of coins, and then he goes upstairs as if he is going to room up for the night. And we see him move up the stairs. You recognize the interior of this inn as the Driftwood Inn, which we were just in. And he goes upstairs, and we notice that he's following the path to the rooms that some of our party members stayed in last time. Goes inside the room, but rather than bedding down for the night, begins rifling through everything within the room, opening drawers, looking under mattresses, looking around at everything within the room, top to bottom. And at a certain point, he appears pleased with what he's found, and then he opens a window and exits the room. We pick up again after a cut. We are traveling along the Tribor Trail on the route south from, we're traveling, not along Tribor, actually, excuse me. We're traveling along a trail south from Neverwinter and veer off along a unimproved trail to a makeshift campsite. A campsite that looks very familiar, where this same person is making camp for the evening at a very familiar campsite. You can see the wagon marks from where our wagon recently left, and you notice him looking around the vicinity, checking branches, looking in the fire pit, and just appears to be looking for something in particular. And again, he searches for a long while, and then he gets up and leaves the campsite, and promptly turns down Tribor Trail. That's where we'll cut it for that part. And then, going to appear, everything's going to go black. But as soon as the camera adjusts and the light settles down, it's not totally black as if the lights were off. You notice there's very dim light, and our viewpoint now is as if it's first person through someone's eyes. And you can see a light, very thin edge of light, as if there's a door off in the distance, and you hear some pounding of footsteps through the hallway or the opening outside the door. And as the footsteps get closer, then you hear a slam as if someone just hit something, and you hear a very gruff voice.
"Hey, open up. I'm taking the prisoner."
So you hear some rustling of keys, and the door creaks open, and light pierces into the room, blinding for a moment. And as the view settles, you notice a large orc standing in the doorway, wearing leather armor, sword on his side, face scarred from battle, with a gruff demeanor, and just looks directly at the person, the prisoner in the room, says,
"Get up. Come with me. We're leaving."
So the view gets up, steps toward the orc. As we step through the doorway, you notice there is another orc standing somewhat at attention at the side, trying to act like he's not going to fall asleep again. And we move down the hallway, following this orc through the hallway. Noticing, as there's now some light, there's stone walls, but they're very crude, so not quite certain whether this is in a crudely built keep or castle, or if it's underground or some sort of mountain, with wooden doors and locks along the side for prison cells. And walking towards the end of this hallway, the orc steps forward to open another door. As this door creaks open, even more so than before, bright light streams in and momentarily blinds. And before the light settles and you regain your vision, the orc slams the pommel of the sword into the back of the prisoner, causing the viewpoint to fall like to the knees to the ground. Says,
"Get out there. You've got somewhere to be."
And at this point, the camera changes and we see the back of the prisoner. You see very torn, tattered clothing with gashes and dried blood and bruises. And on hands and knees, you see just a cascade of dirty but golden blonde hair just draped over the prisoner's head. And panning up, you can see what is quite possibly the largest dragonborn that you will ever see, clad in dark black armor, and around the just in the lines and the cracks of his mouth appears to be a blue glow from it. This dragonborn has two giant swords crossed along his back, and he looks forward at the prisoner and says,
Come with me. We have some talking to do.
And at this, the camera changes, and it starts to pivot. And we see the prisoner slowly rising to his feet, brush the hair off of his face, and though the face is bloodied and full of cuts, we notice that this is a very regal-looking and battered but not broken Eladrin, with long gash from one corner of his face to the other. Obviously been beaten and abused for quite a while, but his eyes are still glowing with intent, and he steps forward to follow this dragonborn. And that's it. That's our open.
You son of a...
Nice.
I think Patrick kind of got excited about that one.
And two stories align.
Yeah, so like I said, these cold opens over time begin to piece together.
I like it.
And like I said, you may have played the starter set before, but we basically left it.
We left it back at the end.
Yeah.
I knew it was different when those beers cost 5 gold pieces. It had to be. That's where we went wrong.
You guys entered the wrong story.
I'll roll a nat 20 to metagame and tell everyone that we're being followed.
Yeah. Followed or hunted or who knows?
Or all of the above, anyways.
You could be a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
something tells me
generally,
it's not.
dark, shady people in D&D are super friendly, right?
Let's
Well, I
not
mean-
judge.
Fair enough. I'm
He's not an animal. He's not my friend.
I mean, you're a dark dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I break the barrier, okay? So.
Okay.
And I've got to be honest, when you said that was the largest dragonborn that we will ever see, I thought to myself, challenge accepted. And we're going to find a larger one.
Dragonborn, not dragon. Those don't count.
Ghemash
So we
comes
will pick
close.
up. We will pick up back at the ambush site. So, for a summary of where we are right now, there are 2 hills, one hill going down and a steep one going down, and a less steep one going up. And right now we're situated at the bottom of the 2. Very dense thickets of woods on either side that are severely restricting movement. To the right side of the road is Thoroar, who is standing near 2 just scorched goblins from a dragon breath, and he's there with Ghemash, not too far to the side. And on the left side of the road stands Lorimar, unscathed, standing next to one downed goblin, and further back near an opening in the woods, and offset from the, let's see, how many was it? 2 downed horses and 1 mutilated horse missing the haunches. It stands Roland with 1 arrow just deep within his shoulder, and we will pick up from there. The floor is yours.
Lorimar would run to Roland. Do you want me to pull it out? It looks like it hurts. Should I pull it out?
And I just ask him how well he knows medicine.
Ghemash walks up as you say this, and he grabs the arrow and rips it out.
And I yell in pain.
And he looks down at Roland and he says, I know medicine well enough, and leaving that in there will cause it to fester and bleed even more.
So roll me a medicine check.
Okay. This is not intelligence. This is wisdom. This is my dump stat. Oh, but I did good. I got a 16.
Pulling out the arrow without even thinking.
I got a 16.
Yeah. So you can tell that this was extremely painful, but to pull it out, other than a brief spout of blood, you notice there's no continued bleeding and nothing significant coming from it. So you feel that if you dress it, it will continue to be sore, but it's not life-threatening at this time.
Yeah. I look down at him and I say, quit whining, you baby. And I walk over and rip off the clothes off one of the goblins and walk back and dress his wound.
Okay.
I would definitely suggest that we take some time and check out the area. Sound like we're doing it for our safety, but really it's just so I can get a short rest and give it some time to heal.
Thor is going to say, I agree. A rest would do you very well.
All right. So right now, as you guys look immediately around the area, you notice that it's a very thick bushes and thickets on either side, but there is the opening to the left of the trail that the goblin was attempting to run through earlier. And other than that, you can't really find anything in the area.
Okay.
At this point, Thor is going to go over to one of the trees and put a couple marks on the tree, and then he's going to go a little deeper into the woods where you guys can't see him.
Okay. So roll me a perception check.
16 plus 20. 16
right,
plus 4.
So you are walking around the woods, and you're there for a little bit, but after a moment you notice that there's a small region in the thickets where some of the goblins had set their ambush, so they've got board pushing down some of the undergrowth within an area, making a small little opening that's concealed within the wood line.
And I'm going to go back and report this to my companions. Thor's going to say, off in the woods a little bit, there's an opening. It looks like the goblins were making something there or something. The weeds and brush have all been pushed down.
Did you notice any goblins?
I did not.
Did you check for goblins?
I'm pretty sure the goblins would have checked for me.
By the way, upon seeing Thor go off into the woods, I'd go and retrieve the cart with the oxen.
Okay. So yeah, it was still just parked over at the top of the hill. They're just sitting there, happy oxen.
Yep, and I tried to treat my wound, but since I am used to using 2 hands and not 1, it did not turn out that well. So, in spite of my hit die, I'm never listening to Lorimar again.
All right, I may be smart.
That's probably a good idea. I think we should go check out that clearing in the woods.
So do we do like a short rest, a long rest, or?
Yeah, so we'll say just a little bit. I like to tailor my short and long rest time. So what guys say you guys can break for about 20 minutes to a half hour and get a short rest. Use any hit die you want.
All right.
Just enough to regroup yourselves and swig some water and take a break.
Yeah, I think we're all good except for Roland.
I don't know what you guys are crying about. That wasn't that difficult. It was just a couple goblins, right?
Yay!
Now, so you guys, as far as time of day, y'all had left early in the morning, so it'd be 10 in the morning. So if you want to rest for up to lunchtime, then I'll give you a full long rest. So you guys can take time to tend to your wounds, stop for a meal, and take a little bit longer, if you'd rather do that.
What do you need, Roland?
I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah.
Ready to move out?
We need to find out where do you want to head to Phandelver, or do we need to find out what happened? Did we ever find those haunches of meat from that horse that was mutilated?
Actually, yeah, Thor would like to check out that horse. See exactly how it was mutilated, if it was done by weapons or animal or...
What did this?
Yeah, so when you go up to the butchered horse, you notice that 3 of the haunches have been just this really rough hack marks. Looks like with a crude sword or some sort of machete. And just very rough cuts in the meat. And you notice that there are streams traces of dried blood in a long path leading towards the opening in the trail that goblin is trying to crawl towards.
Companions, it looks as though the goblins butchered this horse. But maybe, I'm thinking they butchered it to bring it back to their camp. Maybe there's more goblins.
I don't think it's a good idea to leave goblins lairing in this area. If people are traveling along this trail, anyone could be ambushed.
But perhaps there's too many for just us to take.
Spoken like a true Renaissance man.
Exactly.
Ghemash pipes up.
It's best-
Just let them come.
It is best to know when to fight and when not to fight.
Well, perhaps we could at least, scout ahead and find out, if we can tell their true numbers. See what we're dealing with. I'd like to know who ambushed our friend.
I think
I'm
that's our
sure,
best course of action.
I'm sure Ghemash would like to get payback.
I kind of just nod at Lorimar, like, yeah, you read my mind.
Yeah, and I look at the horse and I go, whoever did this needs to pay.
All right, so you guys, what's the verdict?
We're going to stealthily scout this goblin area.
Lorimar,
All right,
before
so-
we go, Lorimar would walk over to Roland and just kind of put his hand on his shoulder and just, whisper, "I'll try not to blow your cover again." That's
And
my-
I yell as you grab onto my wound.
That's right.
And
So,
yeah,
what do you
I
guys
make sure
do?
to. Yeah, I just
You
make
make
sure
sure to
to
what?
strap on my shield over my wound, just in
Nice.
case anything happens. I want to make sure I have as much protection as possible.
Very good. And on that note, let me run through your guys' AC and passive perception again. So we'll start with Ghemash.
Okay, AC of 12 and passive perception of 6.
Oh yeah, I remember that. How about
Oh,
Roland?
yeah.
How could you forget?
Roland, what's your AC and passive perception?
With the shield, it's 16. Without is 14, and my passive perception is 16.
Okay. And Lorimar?
AC of 16. I've still got mage armor on, and passive perception of 13.
Wait, so does
And
passive
Thor.
perception begin at 10? That begins at 10, right?
He's at 10, right?
So never mind, I've got
Yes.
8, not 6.
Oh, so much better.
better.
So much better.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And Thor, what was your?
15 AC and 12 passive.
Yeah, the
Alright.
wizard has the highest AC. That's how I roll.
Only through magic.
Everything through magic.
And then we'll enter like a magic nullifying zone. And
And then I'm host.
okay, so what are you guys doing with the cart?
This is too rough of
Yeah,
ground to bring
Yes.
the cart up there.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
trail itself, it's maybe 15 feet wide at the opening, but it quickly veers off to about 2 feet wide. So it was
Can we-
a perfect path for the goblins, but it's a little narrow, so single file.
Can we pull the
Could.
cart kind of like into the path a little bit just to get it out of the out of the way?
Off the
So
road,
at-
so
off the
nobody can
road
see
and-
it. Yeah.
At least from the
So
I
after
would
you look-
like to find. Yeah. I'd like to find the best grazing area that also concealed.
So no grazing
Are you
area,
hungry?
but if you do look at opening, you notice there's a small little offset, like alcove, that will shield it from the trail itself that you could tie the oxen off at.
All right, let's
think you need to
put it.
die.
Yeah, let's put
Alright.
it there.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright,
I'll
so-
break up one of my rations and lay them in front of the auction.
Perfect. So these you tie them up, and these continue to be the happiest oxen that have ever been hired out, and they contently eat.
Thor's gonna say to Roland, "Do you want to say goodbye to your oxen before we leave?"
Nah, we'll see them later.
Okay.
Ooh,
Famous
jinx
last
it.
words.
Yeah.
They're gonna come back and there's gonna be like a butcher. It's like, hey, I found these oxen here.
You guys hungry?
Yeah.
All right. So then, let me get a marching order for the trail, because it's going to narrow to single file.
Yo,
Or are you good to scout ahead?
I think
little bit.
Roland has the best passive.
Okay.
I also have the
Better
least
than
health, but
Ghemash takes the lead.
There you go.
Alright.
Oh no! We don't need a big-footed dragonborn. I'm learning everybody.
Yeah, man. Ghemash is a man of action. He's taking the lead.
And then who's?
You wanna- I mean, I'll go first if
I'll
you're
go.
if you don't want to get hit.
Ghemash is already marching, guys.
I mean,
I'll go
Okay.
check him
Lorimar's running to
and
keep.
try to look over his shoulder.
I guess
And
we're.
he's not even trying to be stealthy, by the way. He's like breaking every branch in the forest.
Oh jeez.
That's what the wisdom comes into, man. He's smart, but he's not wise.
Thor's gonna see this, and then he's gonna go kind of stealth around into the trees.
And he kind of waves at him as he goes, like.
Are you
gives him a
trying to
big toothy
overtake
grin.
him to the front?
No, I'm going around to like the side, and I rolled
Okay.
18 to stealth.
All right. So you can travel like that for a little bit, but then you realize that the terrain is so thick that it significantly slows your rate of advance. So,
Oh, so we.
So
gotta
you
go
can do
single
it?
file.
well, I mean, you can do that. You'll just travel at a slower speed than the other guys.
We must move in single file to hide our numbers.
Well, I guess we're just. I'll just file behind Ghemash.
All right. So
Yeah,
you got
man.
Ghemash, then Roland, then Thor, and is Lorimar in the rear?
Oh yeah, I guess I'll take up the rear, trying to keep up with everyone.
And he's walking uncomfortably close to Roland, like
Yes.
like his head is on his shoulder.
All right. So you guys are traveling down the path, and you're all. The environment itself is more of the thickets of undergrowth and brush on the sides. Imagine like a very, very thick, viney and thorny border on both sides, and moving deeper to the forest. So the trees are getting larger and they're getting wider, and you travel through the similar terrain, occasionally crossing over like a dry, intermittent stream bed, and then back into the thick environment. And you travel for about 15 minutes when Ghemash is traipsing through the forest, and you hear a snap. And
With an 8 passive perception?
give me a
Yeah!
dexterity saving throw.
Oh, crap. Never mind.
It's a snap with a stick over your head.
Oh, crap. Okay, how does a 2 look?
Okay, so you're traveling through this forest, you hear a snap, and I will give Ghemash enough time to utter one syllable or one word.
One word, huh?
Yep.
Okay, he's just like, crap. Wham!
And so as he's saying this, the pitch gets very heightened because all of a sudden, Ghemash looks like someone tackled him from the side. He flips totally upwards as a large snare has latched around his foot and boosts him what should be over 30 feet into the trees, but because of his heft, he only moves about 15 feet off of the ground.
Ghemash just
And
starts
now
to
you're
laugh.
and now you're dangling. You're kind of swaying back and forth from the snare.
He's just like, ah,
Let's get him down.
So you,
Do
are
we
you
see?
just kind of dangling there with your arms in, or
I grab my dagger from my boot and like try and like cut my own way out.
Let's
All right,
leave him
so
up there so he learns his lesson, guys.
as you're reaching
I'm
up
big-
for your dagger, you hear the creaking of the branches as you're moving,
Oh.
and then all of a sudden you hear a snap.
I was about to say,
And-
do I actually hear the creaking of the branches? Because I can't hear very well, apparently.
Okay, so you got lucky on your roll. So you hear a snap, and you come landing just absolutely flat on your back, knocking the wind out of you.
Can I please
but
land
no
on
damage.
Thoroar?
I'm not dumb enough to get underneath you.
Can I swing myself to
Yeah.
land on Thoroar?
No, you just land
Okay.
like a not a cannonball, but like just like a belly buster, but like on your back, just knocking all the air out of you.
How much damage do I take from that?
0. It was just an eye opener.
Ghemash is just like chuckling on the ground. And he's like, oh, that was fun. And he slowly stands to his feet and kind of like cracks his back like, oh!
Lorimar
And
just
he's
walks
like,
over,
onward! And he starts walking again.
and he says, "You should have just walked around that. It seemed like a bad idea."
He says, he turns and looks at Lorimar, he's like, but that's not any fun.
Yeah.
He keeps walking. Acting like he meant to do it when actually he didn't.
All right, so you guys keep marching, and it's the same terrain, no significant changes. However, the forest does continue to grow thicker, and trees are getting larger. And as you start crossing over the occasional intermittent streams, they're starting to get a little bit of water trickling in them. And you travel about another 15 minutes when roll me a dexterity saving throw.
Man! Okay, 17.
All right. So you notice that the ground right in front of you seems to be have leaves covered over it in a sporadic pattern.
Okay.
And you notice before you place your foot down.
Wait, okay. So, I'm going to, kind of crack my back, like, oh, it's like, somebody else take the lead, I'm tired. Can I roll deception?
No, that's go for it.
Lorimar would jump at the chance. I told you.
All right.
You should go to
So-
the back.
So Lorimar, as
Just
you
starts walking forward.
as you move forward, you don't even see the ground in front of you. So imagine you just sidestep Ghemash, and you stride your foot forward and you place it right on that patch of leaves, and nothing happens.
What?
And then you keep stepping, and as you bring that foot forward, a very thin line gets pulled by your foot, and it snaps. And Ghemash,
It hits
Ghemash,
Ghemash.
make a dexterity
No
save.
way! Okay, 15.
Right. So as this snap happens, 2 logs come from either side of the trail and just slam together. For you, it's not on your head; it's on your chest.
Ow!
You will take 1 point of bludgeoning damage.
Okay, I go flying backwards and land on top of Roland. And I kind of look up at Lorimar, and I'm like, well, that was stupid. Why'd you step on it?
Lorimar just looks back and he says, I told you not to... I told you to avoid these. You didn't see me get hit, did you?
Thor's gonna say, "Are we done playing, boys? Perhaps we should let our druid, who is wise in these deceptions, take the lead now."
Yeah, having a big dragonborn land right on top of my injured shoulder, I decide that he's more of a danger to me than whatever traps are on this trail.
Awesome.
So I will take the lead.
Okay.
Okay.
You're
go
one.
Might be my last word.
I'll go second.
What's the worst that
Okay.
could happen?
So we're pushing Ghemash back to the rear then. Okay. With
Okay.
his one well-deserved point of damage.
Ow.
Okay. So picking up your movement again, travel with minimal difficulties, and about 5 minutes later, you start. Roland. Yes, Roland. You start noticing a very aromatic smell, and as you keep moving forward, you notice that it's the smell of cooking meat.
I look back at the party and, do you guys smell that?
Lorimar says, it
I
smells
probably
good.
don't.
Let's go eat.
Yeah, and so if you guys,
Yeah.
what's up?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say if you guys keep going, the smell strengthens, and you notice it is. It smells like some pretty tasty, fresh cooked meat. And you also notice a little bit further that 100 meters down the road, the trail begins to open up. So it remains wooded on the right side, but the left side opens up to a bit of a clearing. And you notice that there's also a stream that is that the path you're traveling along, a stream veers off to the right, but along that 100 meters, you're following the stream directly.
Let's make it up to where it starts to open up, and then stop and see what we see.
Let's go as quietly as possible, though.
All right, Ghemash in the lead.
Ghemash,
Alright.
stay here. If you hear anything, then come.
And as he says, let's be as quiet as we can, Ghemash will kind of like stand on his tiptoes a bit. Like, I got this, guys.
Good. Advantage to all stealth checks.
No,
Could
really?
I-
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Could I use Druidcraft to make a sound of a small animal in the bush behind Ghemash to distract him while we sneak forward?
Please.
Yeah, sure. Any sound you want.
Alright, I'm just gonna make it a sound of a small little rabbit just hopping through that brush, and hope that gets his attention.
And
So-
Ghemash
so-
doesn't hear it.
Yeah,
So I
Ghemash
want
doesn't
you
hear
to,
anything.
I want you to roll me a deception check. And Ghemash, roll me just like a will check.
Will, so is that... wait, which one's Will?
I'm trying to remember. Let's do wisdom. Let's just go for
Okay.
that one.
Well, cool. It's my dump stat.
Yeah.
Is this to see if I hear it? Or what is this?
We'll see.
Okay, well, I got a 10.
And what'd you get, Josh?
I rolled a 2, so I accidentally
Okay.
made it sound like an elephant in the tiny bush.
So you hear a sound, but you know, Ghemash knows like that shouldn't be here.
Ghemash just
Alright.
kind of like looks back at it like, what the heck? And then, can I sense the arcane? Can I sense him casting the spell?
No, you
No?
didn't notice this one.
Okay, so I kind of just hear this, and I like look back at it, and I look over at the guys. I'm like, I think there's something in the bush.
And we can check it out later. Let's mark it ahead.
Thor's
Yo.
gonna say, it's probably another trap. Go check it out.
Don't step in this one.
I take a step away from the bush.
So I'll quietly lead them to the kind of edge of the clearing. So we still have some cover, but we can look out.
So as I see them going stealth mode, I'm gonna go stealthy also.
All right. So
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So you guys make it to the edge of the clearing, and now you have a better vision. The stream that you're traveling along is approximately 8 feet wide at this point, and the path or the clearing opens off to your left on the left side of the stream, and the forest continues far to your left. But this is just a cleared out area. The grass is kind of like a summer wheat grass. It's about knee high, and on the right side the woods continue, and they keep traveling up to the stream. And in front of you, you notice that there's a pretty significant increase in elevation, like a large hill or a small mountain, and that a mouth to this mountain is what the stream is running out of. As you look closer, you notice right near the opening, the mouth into the mountain, there is a small opening on the right side of the stream. There's a little clearing in the trees, and you notice that is where the smell is coming from.
Lorimar just kind of looks at it, looks back at everyone. Let's go in there, I'm hungry. I'll take the lead. And he would, as quietly as possible, just start making his way towards the opening,
Perfect.
trying to be as stealthy as possible.
So what did you guys get on your stealth check earlier?
So
I
with
got
this,
an 18.
so did
Okay.
I.
Haven't
Okay.
rolled yet.
And Roland, what did you get on a stealth
I
check?
got 11.
Okay.
Got 17.
All right. So you guys are moving. Other than the slight sloshing of water on your approach, you're moving rather stealthily, and you approach the. Are you guys traveling up the stream or in the clearing?
Probably hugging the trees. The trees are by the stream, right?
Yeah. So along the right side of the river puts you near that opening, but you are along the tree line as well.
Yeah, I'd be walking along the tree line, not in the
Yeah.
water,
Okay.
or as close to the
And
tree line as possible.
Yeah.
As you get closer, you notice you see faint trails of smoke. So you're traveling along this right side of the river towards the opening of the cave, and right at the cave is an opening into the tree line. And the closer you get, you realize that a larger area around that opening has been cleared out as a makeshift camp. And that's where the smoke is coming from. You notice that there are a couple figures within that area, but you can't quite make it out yet.
Lorimar would just kind of look back, hold up 2 fingers, and then start sneaking over towards the camp.
How many figures are there?
You see 2.
And are they larger or smaller?
They appear smaller than a human.
Okay, Ghemash wantonly just walks forward. He doesn't care.
So you just
I just
so you
walk
guys
in
are
the
still
clearing.
kinda-
You walk past Lorimar as he's being all sneaky, and you're just kind of like lumbering past, and I just kind of shrug my shoulders, and I just
All
stand up, follow it.
Does everyone follow Ghemash, or what are y'all's reactions?
I
I'm
follow
gonna
Ghemash.
Yeah, I'll follow him.
I'll
So,
follow, but I'll stay back a little bit because it's going to happen.
All right. So to pass Lorimar, Ghemash, you start splashing through the river, and you overtake him. And then, are you traveling up the river, or are you trying to work your way through the woods into the opening?
I've had bad experiences with the woods. I'm going around.
All right. So you take the longer way. You're moving approximately 20 feet forward to the clearing, just traipsing along.
And I pulled my
And
maul off
you-
my back, by the way, so it's hanging loosely by my side in my hand.
Okay. So you hear some rustling around you, and then you hear just some little voices. You can't quite make out what they're saying, but it's like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," and there's some muttering. And then you hear some, like a whoosh through the woods headed your direction.
Oh no.
And 2 arrows come flying towards you. Now,
Please say
as they travel through the woods and the branches, you see one getting knocked away by some of the branches, and another lodges directly into a tree. But you notice they got pretty close to you, and they were coming from within the clearing. And we will officially roll for initiative now.
There we go.
Cool. I'm gonna wreck these guys. Okay. Well, that's pretty bad. Let's go with 5. Oh, put it in the chat, right? Or do you want us to tell you?
You can just tell me. That's fine.
Okay, so I got 5.
18.
Ghemash. 18 for Laura.
Yeah, well, cool for you.
9.
Roland. 9 for Thor.
I got 12.
You got 12. What's your dexterity?
My bonus off it are
Yeah.
plus 3.
All right, so I'll go ahead and type this in the chat for you guys. We're going to go Lorimar, Roland, and you will realize that these are goblins. Then Thor, and bringing up the rear is Ghemash.
The way it should be.
So we will start out. Ghemash just had these arrows fired at him, so Roland, you are immediately behind him. It's about 20 feet to the clearing, which would lead you to the opening of the area. Or if you cut through the woods, it'll take you some effort to get there, and if you feel you can make it probably just to the edge of the clearing.
Lorimar would he would go the 20 feet. He would go to the open area, to the clearing. And as soon as he can see the goblins is where he would stop. As soon as he can see one.
Okay, so rounding the edge of the clearing, you notice that it's probably 5 feet across, but as soon as he's through that 5 feet opening, it opens to like a circle that's been mashed down for all the undergrowth. That's about 20 feet by 20 feet circle. So immediately rounding that corner, you see 2 goblins, one kind of scattering to pick up weapons, and you notice they're standing around a fire with a gigantic horse haunch on a spit over it.
He just looks at them and says, "You missed. I won't." And 3 missiles just come flying out of his hand.
Oh, nice.
So all 3 of them would go towards whatever the closest goblin is to him.
Okay. So while you're rolling, you notice this pit, for a little more detail. There's 2 small pit rolls. There's the fire pit with the horse haunch over it. One goblin is ready to roll, and he's holding his bow in hand. The other one is holding the bow, but he's going to a crate, and he's trying to pick up a sword from it. So he's a little further away, so you'll be taking the guy with the bow.
Yeah, and 9, hold on, 10, 11, 12 damage from my magic missiles.
All right, and those are just like able to attack, right?
They
They always hit.
They always hit.
Nice. I love that spell. All right, so You just absolutely zap this goblin. How do you get rid of him?
Oh, just all three. I mean, like the magic missiles, they don't fly straight at them. They just kind of like circle around and then just like come in and pummel them from the side, and you just see him just crumple to the ground. Like doesn't make a sound, just kind of just falls.
Perfect. All right. And Roland, we will go up to you.
Can I make it to the goblin? How far away are they?
So
Or-
you can make it. You can make it
Yes.
right to the edge of the clearing. Or if you travel through the woods, then you can make it to like the internal edge of the clearing.
I'm gonna go through the woods.
Okay. So you work your way through. It's thick brush and it's a little slow going, but you manage to make it to the very back side of the clearing. So as you emerge, you notice that Lorimar is on the far end, approximately 25 feet away from you. You emerge just in time to see him zapping this one goblin, and between you and that, you notice the other goblin reaching over to a crate, and it looked like he was reaching for a sword on top of the crate, but really he was tapping his buddy goblin who was leaned up against the crate sleeping. So now there's another goblin waking up.
And how far away are they from me?
So from you, it's about 10 feet into the clearing.
10 feet.
If
All right.
only you
And
guys
I've used
would have had
up my full
surprise.
movement.
Yeah, so you're about maxed on movement right now.
All right.
But you haven't quite emerged into the clearing yet.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to stay in the woods and hope that I can use a little bit of camouflage and try
Okay.
not to give up my position that much.
Perfect.
And
All
Lorimar
right, and,
starts to say something. He starts to say, "Roland, you should hide," but he stops himself.
Good. So then now we're going to go to the goblin's turn. So this one goblin, you notice him, he's reaching over the crate, and he's saying, "Wake up! Wake up!" And he turns around and he grabs a dagger off of the top of the crate. He turns around and throws it at the guy who just zapped his friend. And so a dagger comes flying at you, Lorimar, but it's just a goblin throwing it, and it doesn't even make it near you. It clatters to the ground about 5 feet away from you. But this other goblin is now waking up, so he gets he's kind of groggy and waking up, trying to catch his bearings. He scrambles to grab this sword off of the top of the crate, and he's just looking around like he doesn't even know what's going on. And he's currently oriented towards, because he's asleep, he's oriented towards the rear of the forest, and he... All right, so he doesn't notice Roland standing there. So he turns around and runs up towards Lorimar, taking a swing with his sword. And he's still a little groggy from waking up. So as he runs up to you, he does a wild strike. And how does he miss you, Lorimar?
I think Lorimar, he wouldn't like move a whole lot. He would just move just enough that like the sword, if it was going to hit him, it would he would move just enough that it would miss him by just a hair's breadth, because that's just how he is.
Now that'll end the goblin's turn. So we move to Thoroar, and where you are, you can make it right to the edge of the opening, or moving through the woods, you can make it to the rear of the clearing.
The other guys are at the edge of the woods, right?
So one of them has moved up to Lorimar at the opening. which when you from the back edge of the clearing would be 20 feet from you, and one is directly in the middle of the clearing still.
I think I'm going to move up to where near Lorimar is, but could I still stay heading if I moved up, or could I stay?
So
Because I
while
kind of stayed back.
Yeah, so you can move up, and before emerging from the clearing, you can duck into the woods itself, and you would be hidden to the guy in the middle, but you wouldn't be hidden to the one right up there by Lorimar.
Would I have advantage if I went after the guy in the middle?
Yeah, I'll give you advantage for that.
Nice.
And I think I'll go for the guy in the middle so I can use my sneak attack with it.
Oh, snap.
Ha! And a 1 and an 8, so 14.
Does not hit.
No.
So,
Good plan.
so you were using a bow and arrow there?
Short bow. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you knock this bow and you loose it, and it's pretty good, and but it whisks right behind the back of this goblin as he's turning around trying to look at where it's coming from. And we will go to Ghemash.
Okay, so I imagine Lorimar like sidesteps this, and as he sidesteps, behind him is revealed this giant dragonborn. And the goblin like looks up at me, and I look down at him and smile, and I'm gonna Happy Gilmore him in the chin with my maul. So that is a 16.
That'll hit.
Okay, so I bring this maul around into this guy's chin. Oh, that is 9. So that is 13 damage.
All right, you knock this guy out cold. How does that happen?
So
Or more than knock him out if you want.
So I'll knock him out. But as you see Lorimar kind of twist aside, and this giant dragonborn appears behind him, and he kind of looks down at him with his toothy grin as he takes 2 steps and kind of just like hits him right in the chin. He flies 10 feet away, and then lands on the ground next to his friend.
All right. So this goblin goes flying, and he skids to the ground at the feet of his friend, who just had an arrow fly by him from who's knows where. Now his friend slides up at his feet, and it's Lorimar's turn. So this goblin's looking at you just wide-eyed.
All right, so the goblin's looking at me wide-eyed. How far away is he from me?
10, 15 feet.
Okay. Lorimar just disappears. And he just all of a sudden appears right behind him and just rests his sword on his shoulder. He uses Misty Step, rests his sword right on his shoulder, and just says, "Drop your weapon now."
So this goblin, he looks down and he sees his friend directly in front of him. And let's see. Okay, so he sees that friend and he looks at the fried body of the guy in front of him, and you notice a slight trickle running down his legs as he just drops his sword, and he just like doesn't even move. He just stays looking down with his hands at his open at the side.
And Lorimar would say, "Get some rope, tie this one up. We have some questions to ask him."
All right, and so combat's over.
Yes. All right. So I know I have at least 50 feet of rope tied to the side of my pack, but so I would grab some of that, tie up this goblin, sit him down. Does anyone speak Goblin?
No.
So the goblin doesn't put up any fight. He goes and sits down on the crate on his own, and he kind of just holds his hands out.
I immediately eat some of the meat off the fire.
Nice. Lorimar he would get right into the questioning. Say,
Okay.
"How many of you are there?"
And so this goblin, he's kind of looking at you curiously. He goes, Boss!
Did you say boss?
Boss! Boss!
And Ghemash is like, yeah, I am.
So he kind of cocks his head over at you, and then he kind of like cowers away, and he looks back at Lorimar.
Yeah. And I just point to I point to Ghemash and I just say boss.
And he looks. He goes, boss, boss. And he looks. He kind of gestures with his head to his friend on the ground, and then he points in the cave with hands. He goes, boss.
Okay. All right. So the boss is in the cave, and I just point in there. And I just start holding up my hand and, like holding up fingers, like how many? Does he?
Ghemash
What
stands
they
up.
do?
He looks and he kind of looks down at his hands. He's just trying to make the stuff you were just doing.
Ghemash stands up. He's like, I got this, guys. I got this. And he leans and he says, how many are there, you imbecile?
He just he leans back from you so far he falls off the crate onto his back on the other side of the crate.
Okay.
That questioning went well.
And,
All right.
Thor's
he
gonna
writes.
Oops, go ahead.
So the goblin, after he does this, he kind of writes himself up and he crawlers and like peeks his head up over the box, and then he pops up and he kind of looks at you and goes, boss, boss, and he starts kind of walking towards the cave. Not running, he's kind of like gesturing. He's like, boss.
Do you think he's going to show us to his boss?
I pick up the other goblin and start following him.
I don't think boss means what we think boss means, but yeah, let's. Thor's gonna look around the camp real quick, see if there's like any information lying around.
Yeah,
So-
I finally make my way out of the woods, and I just think to myself, is this what you guys think when I try to talk to animals? And I just fall in with the rest of you guys.
So
No,
Ghemash
this
is
is-
like, what?
This is clearly the camp that ambushed Tharden. This is clearly the group. They've got the horse. We need to find their boss. Let's end this now.
So Ghemash is like walking with like a hunk of meat on a spit, and he's eating it, and he's got like one of the goblins over his shoulder, and he's just like following this other goblin.
All right. So in the camp, Thor, you find there's the crate, and if you crack the crate open, you notice that there's some sacks of flour, some rope, and just general goods and supplies, nothing significant. There was the cooking spit with the large horse haunch on it, and another horse haunch sitting on the ground next to it. And other than a few bedrolls and tattered blankets, there's nothing else in the area.
I'll take the check and horse conch and begin eating it.
All right.
That's sick, man. That's sick.
Thor's saying, "How can you eat your buddy?"
I look up. This animal died in vain. The least he can do is help us in our mission.
So you're gonna hit
So-
one of those orcs, one of those goblins with a horse haunch?
So we'll give you back 2 hit points.
Do I get 2 hit points for eating one also?
No, I rolled for you earlier. You just got the luck of
Aw.
Ghemash.
Yeah.
Aww. Ghemash is enjoying it. It's okay.
All right,
Is
Is it like Skyrim where everything we eat gives us health hit points back?
yeah, all right.
Um,
I'm gonna
Because
eat
if so,
up
I'm gonna hoard sweet rolls.
and not always in a good way, too.
Just gotta carry a 25-pound wheel of cheese with you.
You're right.
Because I also rolled to see if it was going to be cooked through enough or not, which would have reared its head later. But you
Ah,
guys
that would have been awesome.
Ghemash has a stronger stomach than most. He's not worried about such things.
All right, we'll see. So this goblin is motioning you guys into the cave.
Yeah, I want to go talk to this boss.
Yeah. I'm gonna
right.
warn my companions before we go. Is like, be careful to step where he steps in case there's a trap.
Nice.
Ghemash doesn't even hear this. He's already following him.
Yeah, I decided to take
Yeah.
it a step farther and step where Ghemash steps.
There you go.
Yeah,
So,
I purposely said it so Ghemash would not hear it.
Good.
Yo, not cool.
So you
Hey,
guys
you have-
follow this goblin. You guys follow him. He marches straight to the mouth of the cave. When he notices you guys are following him, he picks up his stride a little bit, not trying to lose you, but just to get where he's going.
Okay.
And he makes it about 3 feet inside the cave, and then he stops. He freezes for a second. And he turns around, and he goes and he starts walking towards Ghemash, and he looks up and he kind of turns around, and he goes to Lorimar instead, and he points to the rusty sword or the dagger you have. He's still got his hand side. He points at your side. He goes, "Bika!"
Bigger?
No, just Bika.
All right.
And
He points at it?
Yeah, points at your sword.
Yeah, and I pull my sword out and I just hold it and I'm pointing it at him and I just kind of prod him to keep going.
And he's like, he shakes his head. He goes, "Bika, Ciro!" And he's pointing at the meat on Gamash's shoulder.
And I look at Ghemash and I'm like, do you know what the hell this goblin's talking about?
Ghemash takes another bite of the meat and says, I don't know.
So he reaches his hands out. He's like, "Bika!"
I think he wants to
dagger
be
and-
freed.
God.
Yeah.
What was that, Josh?
You think he
Yeah,
wants to be freed?
I was gonna try to take my dagger and cut up a piece of meat and tie it to a stick and just hold it in front of him. Do that and get him to go.
Yeah. So when you get your dagger and start moving towards the meat, he looks at you. He goes, and he moves forward, and he's pointing. And goes, "Biko, tika," and he points your dagger to the meat. And you cut this off, and then what do you do with the piece when you cut it off?
I'll hold it in front of him, but out of his reach. He's like over his head, like ah.
So he looks at that, and he goes, and he looks, and he points. He holds his hand out for it.
Give him the meat. What's it gonna hurt?
I give him the meat, and then find out
All right.
how he's gonna hurt me.
So he holds the meat, and he puts that in one hand, and then he goes, "Bika, fun." He does the same thing. He points at the meat again.
Give him another piece of meat. Let's get this over with.
Ghemash is
Do
too
it
stupid
again.
to realize what's going on, so I'm not going to say anything.
I think he's stalling it. Thor is just gonna move on ahead.
You're gonna move past him?
I'm gonna move past him.
So do you cut him the second piece of meat?
I think their boss is some sort of creature they need to lure out of the cave.
I'll give him the second piece of meat.
Okay. So as you give him the second piece, he kind of snatches it, and he turns around, and then he just sees the back of Thoroar off in the distance. He goes, "Ego!" and he starts running. And
Lorimar just takes
Roll
off
me.
after him.
as you're going deeper into this dungeon, you notice you guys are walking along the right side, or not a dungeon. It's the entrance to a mountain. It's like a big cave.
No, he
network.
slipped out. It's canon now.
You said dungeon.
That was not as exciting. So you're traveling along a stone path to the right of the river. So the river by now is 10 feet wide. It's flowing pretty heavily, so you hear a trickling of water bouncing off the walls. It extends deep into the mountain, and you're traveling along this this path of this narrow stone path on the right of the river. And as you get forward, Thor, can you roll me a stealth check?
18.
Okay, so as you're getting forward, you hear the clinking of metal chains, and you hear some growling and snarling around the corner to your right, ahead of you.
And I'm going to stop and I'm going to hold up my hands for the guys behind me to see. Just hold my hand up.
And as you pause, you notice that this goblin, he's running forward, and he ducks. He steps under your legs, and he moves out in front of you, and he holds his hand up. He goes, "Dogo!" And he takes the lead. He kind of signals you over his shoulders, and tries to get the group to follow.
I'd be right behind him.
Yeah, I'm going to step
I'm
up.
gonna let him out of my sight.
I'm going to have my short bow ready.
Ghemash just walked past everyone. Keeps going.
All right. So as you round the corner, you notice that the goblin takes one of the pieces of meat and he throws it around the corner ahead of him. And the next one he rounds out the corner confidently, and he takes the meat and he throws it really hard in front of him. As you guys are rounding the corner with him, you notice the first one fell. You hear the clanging of chains and a big pickup in the growling. But you round the corner and see 3 extremely large wolves that are attached to chains that are driven into the ground near some stalagmites. And the first meat hit landed near one of the wolves, and the second one he threw just hit one of the wolves directly in the face. And so this wolf kind of shakes it off and then snaps it up. And the third one looks at the goblin, and he starts kind of growling, and then he starts snapping at the other wolf, starting to make some noise. And the goblin looks back. He goes, "Ika, Sura!"
Ghemash, give him the meat.
I'll say, Ghemash, give him the goblin on your shoulder.
There you go.
Ghemash looks at the goblin on his shoulder, looks at the meat, looks at the goblin, looks at the meat, takes a bite of the meat, and throws the goblin.
and so it just, you throw it, and it just completely like waylays this goblin. He gets crushed under it. It's way too big for him. But now he's laying under the body of his dead friend. And these wolves are just...
I knocked him out. Oh, that's terrible. They knocked him out.
And these wolves are just starting to snap and snarl and fight over the meat and get louder.
Is there any way that I can make friends with these wolves just by taking a look at them?
Yeah, you can give me a shot. Try and give me a animal handling check.
All right. Do the wolves know we're there, or are we still hidden?
Yeah, they noticed you coming around, but they're intent on each other right now.
I got a 20 for animal handling.
All right. So as you approach, something about your presence calms the wolves, and they kind of look up at you and they stop fighting amongst each other, and they quit trying to snap up the meat immediately, and you can approach them and you put them at ease.
Give him the dead goblin and let's keep going.
Alright, so I just kind of stay there and just pet them and give them some love while I let everybody else sneak past.
Alright, yeah, so what you guys noticed was as you rounded that corner to enter here, you noticed the path on the river kept extending forward to your right, so you this like an offshoot room in the hall. And when you're petting the wolves, you notice behind them is a pile of rubble and rocks that starts climbing upwards. And now the rest of the group can move freely as the wolves are calm and serving issue.
Is there anything behind that pile of rocks?
Yeah, as you look closer at it, you notice a narrow opening in the wall at the very back that... As you get closer, you notice it leads to a sort of like natural chimney, a path that leads up through the mountain. If you look, it's approximately 30 feet or so. It's at the bottom of the chimney. You notice piles of rubbish, just some bones, some empty flagons. You notice just general trash piles, and you see it'd be tall enough to climb. It would take you a little bit.
Hmm. Do we have a Winnie the Pooh moment and send Ghemash up there? Is it? I mean, when you say it's small opening,
Yeah, so you could
someone
Ghemash.
fit up
It'd be a tight fit, but you could make it up there with enough tries.
do we
Enough
keep going?
tries. Is that a challenge?
Yeah, it's not. So when you get up there and look at it, the rock is crumbly, and all the rocks at the bottom of it are because it's falling. So you realize you could probably get up there. It just might not be the easiest. It would take some significant strength.
Ghemash believes he's strong. He goes for it.
Do we climb the trash chute or do we go further into the cave?
Ghemash
And now,
clams
so
the
this-
piece of meat between his teeth and starts climbing.
And so now this is also it's a like a one person at a time thing as well.
Yeah, Ghemash, you definitely go first.
Yeah, man, I believe.
Just drop it
Okay.
down to us.
Ghemash doesn't even question it. He's going for it.
So Lorimar just kind of like walks up behind him and just both hands just like right on the ass to just help him up. Just like
Is this athletics, by the way?
Yeah, girl me athletics.
Yo, guess who got a nat 20?
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Ghemash is so surprised by this that he climbs faster because he doesn't want to be touched anymore.
Roll. So how are you climbing this?
Oh, I'm
as far as
scurrying straight up this pile as he touches my butt.
just unabashed as quick as you can, just busting out of there.
I am like digging my claws into cracks like a pro climber and just like scurrying up that wall like a spider.
Okay.
So like I'm like
So-
I like even at some points it's so crumbly that I shove my fist into the wall to give myself a handhold.
Okay. Let me take a look at something. One
So
sec.
with athletics that's 26 by the way.
Oh, you got it. No problem.
Oh,
I am checking something else.
oh man.
He's seeing how much noise you make.
All right. So you scramble up, no problem. Side note, one of the best cartoons there was made. It's an old one on Disney called Gargoyles, and you are just like Goliath, like sinking your claws into the stone, just climbing up there, no issue. And you almost like leap out of the top of this chimney into an extremely large opening. So you've moved 30 feet up into the mountain itself, and the opening you see is maybe 60 feet to the far end. So it's kind of a rectangle type room, roughly. It's 60 feet by 30 feet. In the middle is a large fire pit, and you notice that, let me check my notes. You notice that in the middle of the, or not in the middle of the room, but sitting on at the back of the room at a table, kind of resting, is 3 goblins. And in the middle of the room, standing perched over a table near the fire, you notice a hulking figure. Let me roll for that. So this figure doesn't move as you come in. It's approximately 8 feet tall. Looks like it's got to be well over 300 pounds, covered in white fur, gigantic claws, long gaping fangs in its mouth, and if you just kind of, actually, I forgot, I've got a photo for you. So, one second, let me pull it up.
I'm going to die, guys.
There we go. So,
We all have to die someday.
let's crop that out. Now, you don't see this because the creature doesn't actually notice you,
Oh, that's good.
but this is what you see standing perched over the cave in front of you.
Am I allowed
Vicious.
to metagame?
No, you aren't, because
Okay, I
it
don't know
wouldn't
what
do
this
any
is.
good anyway.
He looks
Um,
cuddly.
Yeah.
So you see that in front of you, and that's all you see right now. But so you notice that it doesn't notice you, so you feel at ease. But you hear a skittering overhead, and dropping from the ceiling 30 feet in the air, directly next to the giant beast, is a pale, sickly pale creature with a bulbous belly, about 3 feet tall, maybe 70 pounds. And this creature has 3 long, spindly arms on each side of their body. Long, nasty black hair, red
You're gonna
bulbous
die.
eyes. Red bulbous eyes and gigantic fangs sticking out of the side of his mouth. One hand on each side is holding a dagger, and another is holding a sword. And then the other one, this creature drops and looks directly at you and knocks a bow with its last 2 arms. And it doesn't fire, but you just hear a screech. It goes, "Rah!" And everyone is now looking your direction.
Ghemash smiles at everyone, and he kind of waves nonchalantly, like, "Hey, I'm the new guy." And he slowly turns down the pit and starts describing everything he's seeing.
All right,
Lorimar
so
would be coming up as fast as he can behind him.
all right, so let me check something. So as you turn around and you try to start yelling out your descriptions, you feel a resounding, sharp thunk in the back, the middle of your back.
Ow!
And an arrow sinks deep into your body.
I can take this. I think I can.
Oh.
So
I believe.
you take 1 point of damage. Sorry.
Yes, sucker.
And it's so forceful that you fall forward.
I
and
immediately.
you start plummeting down the shaft. So I'll let you make a dexterity save.
Okay. 16.
So you manage to scrape your claws along the side of the path to slow your descent. You knock Lorimar loose, who can make me a dexterity save as well.
16.
All right, so you manage to right yourself as this dragonborn comes flying down. So you both make it to the bottom, land somewhat on your feet, so you don't take any damage. And now you're at the bottom of this pit. And
So
you
I-
hear a rustling, and nothing's coming down right now, but you hear a lot of movement.
I just look at that little goblin. I look at the little goblin, the one that's still alive, and I just point up the chute and just say, "Boss."
So when you do this, the goblin, he looks at you, his eyes just open wider than ever, and his skin moves from green and into such a light shade of green that if it could be light, it would be. And he thought he was scared of Ghemash earlier, but he's like, yeah, and he turns around and starts running.
This little son of a gun.
So if you guys don't follow, you notice as he reaches that opening, he looks behind you and he points. As he's running, he's shaking his head. He's going, and as he runs, he points across the river, slightly up the path ahead of him. He goes, "Boss!" And then he turns left and books out of the cave.
All right. Well, So
I'm still covered in the wool, so I look up, and look at Mufka, what happened?
I look up and I say,
I don't think that was the boss.
I describe everything that I saw.
I was like, Ghemash, you have an arrow in your back.
I just kind of, a mere flesh wound.
And Lorimar just reaches over and he just pulls it out, just like you pulled it out on Roland.
And Ghemash would flinch a bit, and then he kind of just nod at Lorimar.
All right, so you guys, the goblin has just run out. You hear rustling going on behind you, and you hear some footsteps starting to approach at the top of the tunnel.
I look up to the top of the tunnel, and I ready my breath attack.
Yeah, I'm going to say prepare. I think they're coming, guys.
So you notice that you see some pebbles roll down the tunnel, but you don't notice anything coming down.
Okay.
I'm going to back up towards, like, the exit, just in case.
Yeah, Lorimar would as well, and kind of try to. He would start trying to look if he could, look off to the right where the goblin was pointing to the boss. He would look to see what he can see over there.
So as you peek outside of your opening, you notice that not too far down the tunnel, the stream veers off to your right, and before it veers off, you notice the right side of the stream starts rising very steeply. But right before the stream turns off to the right, you notice across the stream to the left is an opening leading off into another sort of tunnel. And you realize this is generally the direction that he was pointing towards.
You said the opening is on the left side?
Yes.
The right side.
So the path you guys were following opened up as the slope climbs, but across the stream is an opening to the left.
All right.
How are the dogs reacting?
So they're still calm from what you had done earlier. They're enjoying your presence.
I love
All
that
right.
you just called these wolves dogs. You just.
How is Oliver and Fido and...
He's already named them.
One of them's Lassie. I dibs that one.
Yeah.
Lorimar would just come back and say, "Guys, there's the cavern keeps going, and there seems to be something off to the left. That's where the goblin was pointing."
So as you say this, you notice the goblin who had been so rudely thrown earlier, he's starting to move around, and he opens his eyes and he starts rubbing his head. And as he moves his hand, he notices he's right next to one of the wolves, and he jumps and kind of scrambles back on his feet. And then as he's doing this, he's scrambling backwards, and he bumps into the feet of Ghemash. And he looks up to see this dragonborn over him, and you can do whatever you want before he reacts.
So I look down as he looks up at me, and I give him a big toothy grin again. And I take a bite out of this piece of meat that I'm holding in my mouth and just smile.
So seeing this, the goblin jumps to his feet, and he's kind of holding his head, and he starts running to the edge of the cave. He goes, "No, leave!"
Lorimar
So
would.
he just runs to the side of the cavern and looks at everyone in there.
Lorimar just points off to where the other goblin pointed, and he says, "Boss, that way."
And he goes, "Boss, ye me."
All
You go-
right.
And he looks around and he sees that the wolves aren't snarling and as vicious as normal. So he starts to ease a little bit, and he keeps edging away from Ghemash, and he points up the clearing, and he's pointing to the opening on the left. He goes, "Boss, BeanBop, over there." And then he points to the right. He goes, "No, over there."
And And
do
I'm
you
gonna
think,
come up.
guys?
I'm gonna come up behind him, and I'm gonna kind of push him. And point down the hallway, and I say, "You down the hallway."
One goblin's as good as another. Let's let him take us to the boss.
Exactly.
So he looks up at you. He goes, "You want boss?"
Yes. You lead us.
So he starts walking. He turns around. He goes, "Shh," trying to get you to be quiet. He's pointing up to the right. He goes, "No, shh."
And Lorimar just turns around, and in like the same way that the goblin just told us to shh, he does that to Ghemash. Just like the same, like shh.
And Ghemash turns around as if there's somebody behind him that he can shh also, and then he sees no one and turns around and nods.
All right. So you guys make it to the bend in the river, and
Wait,
this goblin leads you.
Is there any way that I could free the dog in the quick moment before I leave?
You can. It'll take you a little bit of time because the chains are driven in. The chains are driven in pretty deeply to the surrounding area, so it would take you a bit of time even to get one off.
What happens if I was a Renaissance man who might have skills with thieves' tools, hypothetically?
It'll still take a good bit of time.
Alright, I tell them that I'll be back to free them. And then,
I mean, you could do it. It would just take you a little while.
We couldn't even pick the locks.
Nah, it's alright.
So there's no locks. They were actually just the chains were driven deep into the ground as if someone took these big stalactites and just like pummeled them into the ground.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
How strong do these chains look?
You're not ripping them. Not without at least several minutes.
Can I smash them with a maul?
You can take some time to try, but
and then as you pick up your maul,
we can freeze them later.
Thor's
as you
gonna
pick up your maul, yeah. Lorimar just goes shh.
Thor's gonna say to Ghemash, "I think you can just pull them apart by your hands. I think you're pretty strong. I'd like to see you try."
Okay, look, guys, I may be clueless, but I'm not stupid. I look at him and be like...
As Ghemash is standing there looking at the chains, contemplating, you hear off in the distance some loud shouting echoing far off up to your right.
I think we might
This keys the goblin in, and he kind of cocks his head and looks to the side.
Alright. While Ghemash is distracted, can I use sleight of hand to take the meat away from him?
Yeah.
It's in my mouth. I'm literally eating it. You can try and take it, sure.
You can take a
Roll.
roll. Yeah.
I rolled a 20.
Well, we'll let that one go. How do you do this?
I want to say that as he looks down at the chains, he realizes that he might not be that strong, so his mouth opens slightly in awe, and right then, in one swift motion, I kind of use my hand to slap the meat out of his mouth, and it lands between the three dogs, who immediately jump on it, and it's a bone.
All right. So they snap it up, and they're content chowing down on the meat.
And then I hurry down the path before...
You would see a single dragonborn tear go down Gemash's face.
All right.
Oh, I get win useless times.
So we've got Lorimar standing by the goblin. Roland just ran down the path, and we have Ghemash and Thor standing near the wolves.
Let's follow the goblin. I'd prod the goblin on towards. I'd say, boss.
I start following him.
All right, so Goblin says, yes, boss, over here. And he's striding forward, and he gets to where the bend in the road is. And he, again, as he turns around and he starts talking to you, he can't hear it because he's talking, but you hear louder shits off in the distance up the right of the tunnel. He looks back, and as he's looking at you, he goes, boss, here! And he rears back, and he goes to jump across the river. And as he jumps, he's heading to the clearing across, an arrow comes flying through the darkness and lands straight in his back. So he is propelled with the force in the air, and he hits the wall and just like tumbles into the river. So he's floating on his back with blood encompassing him downstream, and he just kind of looks up in amazement as he's floating down the river. And if you look, you can see off in the distance is a very large goblin with a long bow.
Did that come from inside that
So
cave?
no,
Further up
so the opening is to your left, and then on the right, the river is getting wider,
Okay.
and it is sloping up extremely to an opening further down the cave. And so he's standing at the very top of this slope as he's looking down towards y'all. It's a extremely long distance.
Interesting.
And you notice him pulling another arrow out.
Yeah. Lorimar would do.
So we'd have to basically go up like a river.
Yeah, so essentially what's happening where you guys
waterfall.
are, the river continues wrapping to your right, doing like about a quarter portion of a circle. So the overall slope rises approximately 30 feet over the distance of about 100. So you can see him far off in the distance, just right around the bend staring at you.
About 100 feet away?
We'd have to go up a waterfall getting shot at, basically.
Yeah, so you got to work your way up the slope, and you notice he's actually standing on a bridge that's elevated about 15 feet over the top of that slope.
Lorimar would not give him the chance. He would just extend his hand, and you hear him say a word in Elvish, and this bolt of fire just comes darting out. I rolled a 19, so that's 24.
That'll hit.
This firebolt. And it does 8 points of damage.
So, this hits the goblin smack in the chest. He's wearing a chain shirt and a shield. So, as it hits him, he kind of turns to the side the shield is on his back, and he kind of turns to the side. This is when you see the ornately decorated shield, and he guards his chest. And then he pulls back around with the arrow he had knocked, and he unleashes it towards you. And he rolls a 16. And you are 16, right?
I am.
So, what's that?
You just see, as the arrow is just about to hit, Lorimar just puts his hand up, and this just invisible barrier just like magically appears, as like it looks like a shield, as it just
Nice.
pops up right in front of him, and the arrow just glances off.
Good. So as this shield just deflects, you can see you can't see the expression on his face, but you know he's not happy about it, and he pulls out another arrow. And as this happens, another goblin archer marches out, not as big as him, marches out onto the bridge with him.
Guys, you go off to the go to the left. Make it up that cave. I'll hold these goblins off.
Yeah, and as he says that, I'm going to go up and run around the left, moving as fast as I can.
Yeah, so you make a leap, and you make it with no problem, so you land to the clearing on the other side. What do Roland and Ghemash do?
I will make the leap.
All right. No problem. Ghemash.
You're muted.
You're muted.
So Ghemash sees them do this, and knowing he's not the most dexterous of people, kind of looks up the hill and sees these archers preparing their bows, and he looks down at his hands, and he looks back up, and he's like having some sort of internal conflict. Okay, and you've always seen this like little stick that's kind of like always like it's always near him, whether it's on his belt or kind of like on his neck or something around a chain. He kind of reaches down and pulls it off, and he puts it in his mouth and pulls it back out, and it's no longer a stick. Now it's just this little bolt of electricity. And he kind of points it at one of the goblins, and this bolt of electrical energy shoots out, and he's going to use Eldritch Blast.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm shooting at the big guy. How does a 16 look?
So you can describe your blast to me.
Okay, so it looks like this little... So instead of actual electricity, it's kind of this crackling purple electrical energy that kind of appears more solid and electrical. And it shoots out of the end of this and kind of swirls through the air, and it kind of appears and fades for a little while. He doesn't use magic very often. He tries to avoid it. But it slams into this guy's chest, dealing...
And at that point,
does it not?
as it approaches him, you realize that your blast is barreling towards this big guy, when all of a sudden, similar to before, it looks like it hits a glass window. There's a crackling, glowing energy as it impacts directly in front of both of these creatures. And he's just looking at you as he goes to reach for an arrow. And stepping out behind him is this hulking white figure from earlier. And it's so far off in the distance, but you can notice there's like a glow to this creature's eyes as it just points at you.
Oh, fetch.
We need to go. We need to follow Roland and Thor.
Seeing this, Ghemash kind of just like sighs because he thought he was like breaking down barriers and he was gonna help, and he's like, man, I hate magic, and he puts it away and pulls out his maul again and jumps across.
All right. So while this was going on, what was Roland and Thor doing? So you guys made it across the clearing. And when you get there, you see, so you're on a clearing about 10 feet wide. You notice directly in front of you there's a pile of rubble. So there's a path elevated about 8 feet ahead of you, and there's just a path of rubble where like the side of it collapsed. So this, if you climb that, it would let you lead to a path overhead.
If that's all to do, I'll climb.
All right. So you guys both make it up the. If Thor goes as well, you can both make it up the path, no issue. At the point, Ghemash crosses over, and I assume Lorimar does as well.
Oh yeah, he's running as he sees, neither one of their magical attacks do a damn thing.
Yeah. So oh, thank you again. As you do your leap across the river, you notice an arrow just hits the ground exactly where your feet were a moment earlier. You make it across no issue, and you see Roland and Thor on this path above you. Now, Roland and Thor, you see you hit the wall directly, and this path extends to your right, and the right leads towards the bend in the river. You feel that since you were raised up, this leads toward the bridge that you just saw everyone on. And to the left, you hear, or you don't hear, but you can hear just from the echo of sounds that there's a more open room leading away from that direction to your left.
I'm going to tell my companions who are just showing up here down there, I was like, this path appears to travel around to the bridge where the creatures were.
And as you're sputtering this, you hear footsteps pounding around to your left, and around the corner emerge one, and then two, and then a third goblin, and they all run out and they look, and they glare at you, and they all pull their swords out. And one of them pulls a crossbow off of its side, and it levels it just right at you. So, what sort of reaction do you take? They haven't fired yet, so you just have like an immediate reaction as you see them around the corner.
I'm gonna duck around the corner, kind of
Okay.
back into this tunnel, and
So as you duck around, you notice around the corner as well another big goblin rounds. This one is not as large as the one that was on the bridge, but he's larger than the three around him. He's wearing a like metal bracer and like a gladiator like chainmail type sleeve, and he's carrying a large ornate sword on his hip. And he looks at the others. He goes. He briefly assesses you as you're rounding the corner, and he sees Roland. And he looks inquisitively, and he points at everyone. He goes, "No, no, come back!" And the goblins immediately sheath their weapons, and he motions for you. He goes, "Come, quick!"
Is he going towards the?
No, he's going
away.
They emerge
from
from
that,
the opening to your left.
Okay.
I'm gonna hop down and follow them, but I'm gonna have my short bow ready.
All right. So
Can
as
we
you
see
move
this happening, Dave?
So you guys have just made it up to the
Okay.
path as you notice this boss come around and sheathe their weapons.
All right. Yeah, I would. Lorimar would immediately start following. Anytime his magic doesn't work, it makes him a little scared. So he heads off towards with this giant goblin.
All right. Anyone who follows the goblin will notice they emerge into an open room. This one's shaped more like a bean. It's like 40 feet long by 20 feet wide, not as big as earlier. There's several bedrolls, and there are a total of 5 goblins in there, and this larger goblin. And you notice deeper in on the left side of the room, there's a stairway leading to a raised platform. This goblin goes and sits by a fire, and he goes, "What is going on out there?"
And
Well,
yeah.
Ghemash, you want to tell him what you saw?
Ghemash is just really sad. His magic didn't work. He doesn't have his meat anymore. He just is kind of like looking down at his feet with this forlorn look on his face. Then you say this, and he looks up in surprise, and he kind of looks at you. What do you mean?
Tell him that. Ask him what the hell that thing was that you saw.
Oh, you mean pale and ugly? And he starts describing the creature to him.
So goblin looks up. He goes, No, it saw you?"
I think we pissed it off too.
And he just lowers his head. He looks at his guys, and real quickly he tells them, he's like, "Up now, weapons!" And he looks directly at Yugi. He goes, "We don't have time." He goes, "We make our stand now. I've wanted to strike them down for too long. They are not rulers of the Kragma."
All right. Hey,
Okay then.
let's use our goblin allies. Lorimar would. He would.
So briefly he tells you he goes "They came and took charge, but BeanBop is the leader of this group. We will not follow." And he goes, "We go and fight."
Is he perchance a cowboy?
BeanBop.
Oh, I thought you said BeanBop. Okay.
No.
Okay. So he says this, and I kind of like Ghemash starts getting fired up. He's like, "Yeah!"
And Lorimar asks, "Where will they come from?"
He goes, "We will go soon." And he goes, and he's doing some last minute like grabbing the weapons and handing them to his men. And as soon as he steps off, everyone roll me a perception check.
18, 21.
Okay.
10.
10.
How about Roland?
I got 19.
Okay, good. So, you two do manage to notice. You hear on the raised platform to your left some like a some shuffling, and then you hear a moan. Ooh.
All right.
Thor's gonna ask this goblin, What is that?
He goes, "We talk later. We go now.
Go where?
He goes, we go fight. BeanBop, kill. Then we talk."
Let's go.
All right. So he starts running down the hallway with his goblins.
I just kind of look around at everyone and shrug and just start following after him.
Ghemash takes
So,
off. He's sprinting after him also.
All right, so you guys run down. You pass the platform you guys ran up earlier as the tunnel starts rounding to your right. You approach the bridge, and they're ahead of you, probably 15 feet, and you hear a thud thud. And as you round the corner, you notice that one goblin has an arrow straight through his forehead, laying down on the bridge. And another has just dropped into the river. You notice an arrow in his head as he's floating down. And they charge directly across this bridge. You guys keep moving, and the bridge goes into another narrow tunnelway. And it opens up to a wide room with two gigantic pools of water on the left. This room is 100 feet wide by 150 feet long, so it's a gigantic room with these giant pools. And ahead of you, you see these goblins clashing with a smaller group of 3 goblins. One of them is already dead on the ground, and 2 of the ones that were following with BeanBop engaged ahead of you. They're obviously superior fighters, so they're taking 2 on 3. And BeanBop just turns to a stairway on his right, which you realize is leading exactly back to the room you guys climbed up to earlier, and he motions forward.
All right.
I've noticed the 2 arrows that were in the 2 dead goblins, were they like precisely put in their head, or was it lucky shots, or was this like a good archer?
From what you saw, it looked like it was a damn good shot. And BeanBop takes his remaining 3 guys and charges up the stairway.
I follow close behind.
Yeah, I'd be following behind as well.
As you guys follow him up the stairway, you reemerge in this large room, which was 60 feet long by 30 feet wide. And you stand up the stairway, you see the fire pit described in the middle of the room, and in the room, you notice this giant white creature, the furry creature from earlier, and you notice 4 goblins standing directly by him, and 1 goblin off in the corner. And we'll have everyone roll for initiative.
Oh. $10 for Lorimar.
16.
All right, how about Ghemash?
14.
All right, 14 for Ghemash. So, and let me roll for those guys. All right, so all right, cool. So immediately, as you guys all move in, these guys are going to go first. You notice this large white creature. He sees that you're standing there, but he sees you're with BeanBop and his 3 warriors, and he smiles as he sees you enter. He just raises his hand over to his left, and you notice the spider creature, pale creature from before, drops down, and he kind of runs forward with all his arms dangling around him. And as the white beast raises his arm, he just moves his hand through the air, and he steps back into a small opening in the side of the cave. He hits a support beam, and the tunnel just like just collapses around him as he turns and runs down this passage. So he's blocked off the trail behind him, but you notice the spider creature from before begins to glow with that pink magic, and he starts growing and growing and growing. Now he's standing 7 feet tall, from 3 feet tall, and looks to weigh near 200 pounds now. And this guy will, as he's running forward, he knocks an arrow in his bow for 16 damage, or 16 to hit. And this one goes flying towards Ghemash. Well, who's going first? Flying towards Roland.
All right.
Oh, Roland. Arrows. Sorry, bud. This one hits for 3 points of damage. And he continues closing the gap. And 2 other arms slice at each of the goblin soldiers in the vicinity. Ooh, he's rolling good. All right, and these guys will roll. And so, of the 4 goblins that are remaining, one takes a shot at BeanBop and misses. Another takes a shot at BeanBop and hits. And then another takes a shot at Ghemash, and it flies over your head.
These guys hate me.
Yeah.
So now we will go to Roland's turn.
All right. I'm hurt pretty bad, so I'm gonna try to cast Fairy Fire on the large 8-legged freaky thing,
All right.
and then kind of fall back into the back of the rank. So you see my medallion just raise up in the air a little bit off my chest and shoot out a, let's go, violet light. And now that pink glow has darkened a lot more, and the creature is outlined in pink. And as long as you guys can see the pink, you have advantage.
All right.
And then I'm gonna fall back to the back lines.
Perfect. Now, and guys, just a DM reminder. Remember, you also have inspiration cards if anyone feels awesome. And now it's Thor's turn.
All right. So I would probably be towards the back. Would I be able to see this pink light?
Yeah, so you can see everyone's in line in front of you with the large, pale creature directly engaged, and 25 feet back behind them towards the middle of the room is the line of 4 goblins.
Would I be able to make it to this creature to engage him with my rapier?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're not too far from you, maybe 10 feet.
With advantage from the light?
Yep.
All right, I think
And
that's
they're
what I'm
adjacent.
going to... Yeah,
They're
I think
adjacent
that's...
to several people.
All right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run up around and try to, run, past him just a little to try to get a shot at his back. So
Perfect.
I can get my sneak attack in here, too. 15.
So that will hit.
All right, sweet. So you got a D8 plus a D6 for the sneak attack, and I will hit with 9 plus 13 damage.
All right. Okay. So that was rapier, you said?
Yeah.
So you take a big slice out of this creature's back, and it unleashes just a beast-like scream as you see anyone standing in front of it sees fangs, spider-type fangs, just slinging like venom everywhere. And we will now go to Ghemash's turn.
So Ghemash watches this guy grow big, and he's just intrigued by this. He's like, huh, interesting. And as he grows bigger, and he keeps growing bigger, and now he's taller than Ghemash, he's like, oh, interesting. And he's going to charge him and grapple him.
All right.
So I'm going to tackle him to the ground.
Interesting. So roll me. We'll do a contest.
Okay. I have advantage, right? Because he's no, that's only on attacks.
Yeah, on attack.
Yeah,
So-
and he has 6 arms, so no.
Is this athletics or what is it?
Grapple would just do strength.
Okay, so I got a 19.
All right. Well, they rolled terrible. So you managed to drop this guy onto his back, and you tie up 2 of the 6 arms.
So I just take him down like a linebacker, just level my shoulder into him and just slam him into the ground.
Okay. So you, one arm is holding. So there are 2 arms. One's holding a sword, one holding a dagger, and then another arm is holding a bow. You can pick which 2 you try and target.
Let's go with the dagger and the sword.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
I'm not down to get shanked on the ground, so.
All right. So you grapple him, and now we will go to Lorimar.
How far away is that group of goblins?
25 feet.
Okay, so Lorimar, as this thing is grappled to the ground, would like run past and pat Ghemash on the back and be like, "Looks like you got this covered." And then he would run past and draw his short sword and attack the goblins. Are they next to each other? Like, are they?
So 2 of them are standing together within about 5 feet of each other, and then 10 feet to either side is another one.
Yeah, I'm attacking the 2 that are right next to each other.
Okay.
And you just
Fairy
see-
fire, like a 20-foot cube. So would that have got any of the goblins as well?
No, they would be right outside that.
Okay.
All right.
Well, he's still you see that as he starts to swing, that his sword kind of glows like with this green flame as he's swinging his sword. 18.
Yep.
All right, so he hits the first goblin. That's a 1d6. 4, 7 damage, and then you just see this gout of flame just like jump from the first goblin and just hits the second goblin as the green flame blade cantrip, and that deals it 3 points of damage.
So you drop the first one and damage the second one. How do you want that?
What's that?
So you drop the first one and you damage the second. So how do you want to flavor the kill?
Yeah, so like the first one, I mean, it's like the sword just kind of like slices in, and he's just surprised. I think he's more surprised that I ran past, Ghemash and this, creature grappling, and just wasn't ready for me, and I just like take off one of its arms, and it just starts bleeding its lifeblood, and then just kind of falls over as the fire just jumps to its partner.
All right. So as you do this, BeanBop yells just a phrase in Goblin, rallies his men as he pulls out this rather nice short sword, and he thrusts it downward at the creature in front of him. So he slices into that So he slices directly into the torso of this creature, which screams and is momentarily distracted from Ghemash, while his other 3 guys all charge forward. Ooh, nice. And one of them runs forward and slashes at the goblin on the outside. The other slashes at the goblin on your right, Lorimar, but he misses. And directly to the left of you, you notice one of them has leveled a crossbow for And this one sinks straight into the shoulder of the guy you just damaged, and he drops like a rock.
Nice.
And the slice to the goblin on your left. So now you have a goblin on your left and a goblin on your right. The goblin on your left has just got sliced pretty severely. He's gushing blood. Now we are back to the ground. So, Ghemash, you tackled this guy, grabbed his sword arms, so it squeals and it tries to just snap at you with its spider claws or its spider fangs, and it misses. So you notice it raises one of his other arms up to the grappled hand and pulls the dagger out of it and stabs it directly into your kidney area.
I just got shanked, guys.
For
prison
5
riot.
points of damage.
How much?
5 points of damage.
Ow!
And then he tries to push up with the remaining arms, but would not be strong enough to break your grapple, so you still have them.
I feel like I'm back in the streets of New York, guys.
And now the remaining 2 goblins, one is going to slash at that one and miss. Another is going to slash at the other and hit. And now we're back to Roland.
All right.
Come on, Roland.
With a free action, can I yell at Ghemash, see if he's okay, or if he needs any healing?
Yeah, so I generally let any talking you want during the turn.
All right. So, in that case, I will yell at Ghemash. You all right, or do you need any healing?
Can't hear you.
You're muted.
Ghemash would look over his shoulder as he says this, and he's like, merely a flesh wound as blood spurts out of his mouth.
And Lorimar just, he says, yeah, save it in case we find any wounded animals.
Oh, good point.
Ghemash yells, he's
Yeah.
like, I'm a beast now, I'm a beast.
All right. So with that, I'm gonna pull out one of my spears, and the disadvantage of him being down cancels with the advantage of fairy fire, so it's just straight roll, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. And so I'm gonna take the spear and throw it off the cliff.
Okay.
I got 3.
Oh, at least I won a 1. I'm
Do a
looking forward
warning
to that.
shot, and then yeah. And
All right,
then
so
I'm
that'll
gonna
take us to.
try to fall even farther back, ashamed, hoping that everybody else was distracted with combat. That'll be it.
Perfect. All right, that'll take us to Thor.
All right.
So
So I'm
you've got the grappled creature and then 2 goblins engaged with your goblin friends.
so as Ghemash is grappling with this creature, Thor is going to look at them both and say, "Well, 50% chance I hit Ghemash, 50% chance I hit this creature. Let's go for
I like those odds.
Do I hear him say this?
No, you hear snapping in your ears.
Dang it.
23, so I hit
Yeah,
the
that'll
creature,
do
I
it.
guess.
That's good, that's good.
And 12 damage.
Perfect. So this one sinks deep into the side of the creature, very near Ghemash, and it just lets out another scream, this time spraying venom directly on Gamesh's chest.
Ah!
And
Win-win.
now we'll go to Gamesh's turn.
Okay. So I look down at this creature beneath me as it shanks me in the side, and I say, let me show you how it's done. And I open my mouth, and I'm going to dragon breath him right in the face.
Yes.
So he needs to make a dex save, and he's grappled, which I think gives him disadvantage, right?
All right, does not make it.
Okay, so I open my mouth wide, and I clamp down on his neck, and I breathe electricity into his body, dealing 10 damage.
So that it's not enough to get it, but you've really hurt this guy.
Okay,
So,
and I just keep being clamped down on him, and I'm just chuckling as my teeth are like, my lips move up and down. I'm like,
So you notice his body is just extremely scorched. Most of the fight's gone out of the creature now, and it's just kind of like still reeling from the breath. And we'll move to Lorimar.
So, are the two other goblins that are not fighting with us, are they engaged, or are they?
They're fighting the guys outside. Last you saw.
Okay. I mean,
It
so
was
those. No, there were two
The
goblins.
two
left
in the room.
Yeah.
So two of them are engaged with the goblins on your flank, and one of them just downed the one next to you, so he's yet to engage another.
But he's one of the enemy goblins.
No, he's one of the good guys.
Oh, okay. Well, then if they're engaged, and I'm running back towards the creature grappling with Ghemash, and I'm trying to just slam my sword into him.
He's kill steal, Ghemash.
you're taking my EXP.
I damaged the thing for like 25 points. You got like 10 points on it.
Fine, I
true.
get all the loot then. I get all the loot.
Yeah. 11.
You have advantage. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, true. Advantage.
Okay, 20.
That'll do it. Like a critical 20?
No. Like a 20.
But
15. I rolled
doesn't
15.
matter. So how do you finish this beast off?
So as I'm running up, I'm holding my sword in two hands, and I'm right by his head, and I just kind of like look at Ghemash, and I say, "This is how it's done," and I just slam my sword right down into his face.
All right. So you send the thing right below its nose, in between the spider fangs, and as the sword goes in, the spider fangs clamp down on it from reaction, and just venom's pouring out of its face, and it's totally done. The arms fall limp at the side, and at this time you hear one of the goblins do a finishing blow on the one that you were standing next to, and you see BeanBop level his crossbow and just shoot a bolt directly in the middle of the forehead of the remaining goblin. And that'll do it for combat.
And
Now
we have
we're running
Go ahead.
I know we're running a little bit over, but we can do like a closing flavor scene, and then we'll be done.
All right.
So how do you guys? So it's y'all scene for the moment.
Ghemash looks up as he dies, and he goes, "Ha! We got him!" and he passes out. I had 1 hit point left.
Nice.
Oh wow.
And I think Lorimar would just as he sees him pass out, he'd just be like struggling, trying to pull his sword out of the mouth of this beast, and after just a second or two, he'd just be like, "I really like that sword," and then he'd just leave it and walk away.
Very nice. So as battle ends, BeanBop and goes up and pats his guys on the shoulder. And he goes, "Good, good." And you hear him some goblin talk, and then he turns back to you guys. He goes, thank you very much."
So, what happened here? What was all this?
And he just runs his hand on his head. He goes, let's go rest. BeanBop, explain. And so he starts guiding you out of the room. You notice the goblins outside have all died, and one rests just covered in blood, but still alive. And we'll jump forward. You guys walk back to the room. And
I don't. You guys carry me.
Yeah,
No.
I would.
I kick Ghemash to get him up. Come
I would
on,
reach
get up.
in and try to pick him up and carry him.
You're muted.
I'm rolling con saves, and I keep getting really low, so I'm still out. There's no way you're getting me up right now.
How much do you
I
weigh?
think we just leave him.
Yeah, there's no
Well,
way.
I'm 6'5", So, and I'm
So
basically
they
pure muscle.
manage. They magically manage to.
I think
get you
we could
back to
carry
the
you.
room.
I think we asked BeanBop. He's a pretty large goblin, right? And
I got a
Yeah,
levitate
BeanBop-
spell. I can use a levitate spell. I'll levitate him
There
down.
you go.
And then I'll slam him. I'll slam when we
Yeah.
get to the room. I'll slam him down.
For
Which-
1 damage.
Yeah, for 1 damage.
So you guys make it back to the kidney shaped room from earlier. Get it? Instead, it was shaped like a bean for BeanBop. I just caught that as a slip. I didn't even know I did that. So you get back to the room. You move around the fire. BeanBop he kind of tends to any wounds you have, and you guys start. He starts tending to his soldiers, getting water, and sit down, and he starts to explain things to you, and you hear a rustling up on the elevated platform to your left again, and you hear another groan.
Lorimar would be like, Thor, go check out what that is.
I'm saying, I'm gonna ask our goblin companion here what it is.
He goes, "Oh, that!" And this draws the attention of everyone. And as some of you stand up and look over the platform, thinking back to our initial meeting at the Driftwood Inn, you see, with his arms chained up against the wall, leaning over, roughed and bloodied, is the beaten form of Sildar, the human warrior who went into the inn with Gundren as his bodyguard.
friend.
And I'm gonna say, cut him down right now.
Yeah, Lorimar
So-
would like whip his rapier out and be like, "You need to cut him down now."
So we'll put a pin on that, and we'll have the camera pan up to show Sildar, and that's where we'll pause for the next session.
Ghemash groans in pain.
Yeah. And Ghemash wakes up and says, "What's happening?"
Nice. I like
But
it.
yeah, that'll do it for this session. That one ran long, but that's because I didn't know Ghemash was going to alert the entire freaking cave complex to you guys.
I love it.
So that'll be it for this week. We'll pick up next time on to finish out with Dark Discoveries. You got anything, Ty?
No. This is fun. I'm enjoying this a lot. Totally, it was an awesome session. Yeah. Nothing really much to add.
Cool. All right. Well, then we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
All right.
All right.
See you guys
And
next week.
And,